The markets update, the local index, which has fallen for 6 of the last 7 sessions, will be contending with mixed global sentiments this morning, with investor attention still focused on U.S. monetary policy, the war in Ukraine and China's COVID-19 outbreak. Jimmy Moyaha is independent analyst, joining us now for some analysis of how the JSE is performing in early trade. Jimmy, good morning to you. So the JSE, you'll give us a sense of how it is performing in early trade after slumping yet again in the previous session.
Morning, Dolly, and morning to the viewers. The JSE is back in negative territory at the moment. We did see it briefly rally at market open. It was trading a little positively at market open, but now we're slightly down. Your top 40 is down about 0.2%, and your industrials are down at the moment. I think if we look at your Rand as well, Rand is sitting below 14 Rand 50, which is a key critical level. It's struggled to break below and sustain below there. So it'll be interesting to see if we can actually continue to stay below 14 Rand 50 now. I think there's a bit of positive sentiment around the South African market at the moment, more South African currency in particular, off the back of the issuance of those bonds that we saw from the National Treasury.
Let's talk about those bonds. South Africa successfully placing $3 billion in bonds maturing in the years 2032 and 2052. This is on the international capital markets. How significant is this, and what is driving the positive run?
Well, this is very significant for South Africa. I mean, it speaks to a lot of positivity and investor confidence, particularly international investor confidence. We know that they placed $3 billion worth of bonds, but those bonds were oversubscribed by some 2.4 times. So we actually were able to, there was interest of about $7 billion on the South African bonds at the time of placing them in these international markets, which basically is just another way of international investors reaffirming that the South African position is still an attractive position for them, albeit the downgrades we've experienced and the revisions we've seen from Moody's and other ratings agencies. So the bonds will allow us to pay for some of the other bonds that we have that are going to be that are up for redemption soon. I know we've got a redemption as soon as May, and then we've got in the next 6 to 7 years, we've got about 8 more redemptions that the Reserve Bank and National Treasury need to ensure is taken care of. So from that perspective, the funds raised here are going to be used for those redemptions in part, and also for our ongoing service costs in terms of our interest payments on whatever other capital requirements that we have. We know that we've got a new loan we've received from the World Bank for some $750 million. So that's going to incur a new batch of interest payments there, and we're likely to use some of the funds to meet those requirements as well. But overall, very positive sentiments around the issuance of the bond from an international investor perspective.
Very briefly for me in these last 2 questions, Jimmy, let's talk company news. Mr. Price announcing another surprise acquisition. This time it's a 3.3 billion rand majority stake. Talk us through the specifics of this acquisition.
Sure. So, I mean, effectively, Mr. Price is buying the Studio 88 group and all of its subsidiaries that come with it. They're not looking to change the management at the moment. They just really like the fact that they're able to step into a division within the market that they've been underrepresented in, according to their CEO. And this strategic acquisition, I mean, you rightly mentioned 3.3 billion is the consideration, but if we look at the effective value of the entire transaction, we're probably sitting closer to about 4.7 billion rand. Very good acquisition for Mr. Price, which is something they've been doing quite a lot recently. They did it with Power Fashion. It increased their balance sheet and gave them a stellar year last year. They're doing it again with the Studio 88 group, and I think we'll see that it'll definitely add to their balance sheet and add to their revenues at the end of the year. We know this group did about 5.6 billion rand in revenues in the last financial year that they had, so it'll definitely be a bolster to Mr. Price's arsenal, and it'll allow them to reach a whole new segment in a different way that they have been to what they've been doing up to now.
Yeah, let's conclude the conversation with EOH, which has published its interim financial results. How have they fared in the period under review? And I I suspect you sense the kind of laugh embedded in my voice there, Jimmy. That's because the question I want to know from you is whether EOH is officially out of the woods. Let's place the politics away from it. We won't talk about the Zondo Commission stuff.
Well, I mean, financially, a company that's able to pay 360 million rands worth of their debt in the first 4 months of this year, able to get their headline earnings per share back up some 214% from a headline loss in the last year, has a 250 million rand overdraft facility that they haven't tapped into, is doing fairly okay at the moment. I think they've really turned around and they've turned a new leaf. They've done really well in this respect, and we must commend them on that. I mean, operating profits for the first half of 2022 were sitting at about 167 million rand, whereas first half of 2021, those operating profits were sitting at about 76 million rand. So about 90 million rand more, give or take a couple of million there. And you're seeing that that's a good sign for them. The share price at the moment did start the trade around 6 rand. It tapped 6 rand 50, sitting around 6 rand 25. It's up about 0.3% for the day. So aside from all of the other conditions, the numbers say that they're doing a lot better than they were.